out.
Jojo, I think you should take these firm strategies again, please.
Strategy, the organizational structure of firms that operate in these countries. That's what we are speaking to. And I'm saying that one of the things that makes countries successful, certain industries very successful in a particular country, is that the operators or the actors, if you like to, in those industries for that particular country tend to or know strategy and structure that they operate. So for example, maybe the structure, I gave an example of a lean structure, maybe they outsource a lot of things and just retain only the core production. So my point is that part of the things that will make a country, an industry in that country, is that to operate and thrive within that industry in that country, your strategy and structure has to be very efficient to allow you to deliver. So a good reason why certain industries thrive in the firms that operate in that industry have a very unique link that to structure, and also that is able to translate into how the rivalry in terms of how you manage the competitive rivalry in that country. So my point is that the strategy and structure that you would adopt or that are adopted by firms in that country is also a standout reason why they can be successful. So you've got to rethink your strategy. So if, for example, a very wealthy billionaire decides to move in from South Africa to Germany to go and set up a business focused on automobile production, what might have been responsible for their success or the success of his empires in South Africa, if he decides to go and open a production plant or an automobile production plant, he has to rethink his strategy to be able to survive and compete within that particular industry in Germany. Is this clearer enough? So I'm saying that the structure and the strategy is a very key thing that can give you competitive advantage. Because the way to look at it is that in a successful industry, because that's what this model was trying to analyze, what is it that makes industries successful in a country? So for successful industries operating in a particular country, one of the things you will find out is that you must have a strategy that can allow you outperform the competitors. So don't just go and assume that by setting up shop in those countries means that to translate to success. You must deliberately fashion out a clear-cut strategy to be able to stand you apart in that particular country. Is this correct? Is this understood?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, Jojo.
All right, cool. We're not going to waste a lot of time because I've already eaten up into. So I've covered that. The concept of strategy is straightforward. That strategy refers to the plans that an organization would adopt to be able to achieve their objective. There are several strategic planning frameworks the portal's 5 forces, and then we
Hello, Jojo.
spoken abilities and yes, sir, can hear you.
Jojo, you're breaking up.
Is that the same thing now?
It's still same. You're still breaking.
If that's not better, I might have to change my network. If no one can hear me, I would have to change.
I can actually hear you now.
We can hear you now.
All right. Okay.
Now.
Thanks for that. All right. Thanks a lot. So I wanted to touch on strategic choices before we then go on a break. So let me talk about this. One of the core things you will be doing in your exam is to make strategic choices. So the first starting point is Porter actually says that firms can pursue generally three broad strategies. What are those strategies? What are those generic? We call them generic strategies. So what are the generic strategies according to Professor Porter?
Focus,
Cost leadership,
Focus,
leadership,
differentiation,
and
and cost leadership.
differentiation.
differentiation.
All right. So I've seen lots of questions, right, where in trying to understand the company, you might first of all want to understand what sort of strategy they are pursuing, right? I've seen questions like this. You might want to check Dochico to see a bit about this. The first part of the question was on something around evaluating the strategies. So these are the broad strategies that companies can pursue. By no means is a particular strategy better than another strategy. It's all a function about where the organization feel they've got the most competence on to deliver. Cost leadership speaks to being the least cost supplier, which is really producing your items at the least possible cost. You can now pass on that cost to your customers. So you lead your market or you lead your competitors on the basis of cost, your cost of production. Focus is what we also call niche, is to say I cannot play in every aspect of the market. I would rather focus on a particular strata of the market and supply them. Now, speaking about focus, one of the technical articles that came up recently, I shared that with the Ivy League group. I'm also happy to share that if you join the other group we created. There's a document on market segmentation. And what that is speaking to is to say companies have found out, and the research is there, that is almost very unproductive to want to satisfy the concept of your customer being everybody. There are firms that take that approach, can be counterproductive. So what some firms really should be doing is to really stratify, segment their markets. You know, either you want to segment your markets by sex type, which is male, female, or you want to segment your market by income class, right? HNI. So you might have things like for the high net worth individuals, for basic earners, for low income earners, for moderate income earners, or you might want to segregate it according to age groups. So people want to serve markets for the aged in the society, for the youth, or for children and kids. So that document will speak to that, right? And it might just be very useful in a question. So this really says, segment your markets, have a clear focus, and then serve the needs of that market. And then the final one is differentiation. So differentiation is really to differentiate yourself. And really what can differentiate you a lot of the times is on quality. But I know that differentiation can be broken into two. So in a real strategy class, beyond your SBL exam, you might have the realm of what we call cost differentiation and focused differentiation. So you might want to differentiate yourself on the basis of cost or on the basis of quality, etc. So it's just meaning that you want to stand out, you want to offer bespoke services or differentiated services. Now, the difference between that is that for focus is a particular segment in the market, but differentiation is everybody, but you really want to differentiate your product in the mindset of the entirety of your customers. Then finally, I'm not going to end a strategy class. I'll be doing a lot of injustice to you guys if I don't mention a model you must know for a strategic business leader exam. And after this model, I explain this model, we can take our break and resume by 2 p.m. This model is called the evaluation of a strategy. In your exam, you might be asked to evaluate a decision, evaluate a strategic decision, evaluate a strategic choice. A decision has been made by a board to acquire a new company. Evaluate that decision. Evaluate the things that could be responsible for the success in implementing that decision. So I'm going to call this evaluation of strategies or evaluation of strategic choices. Very important. Evaluation of strategic choices. So in evaluating strategic choices, there is a brilliant model that comes to mind. Who can tell me what that model is called? What we call that model? The acronym.
SFA model.
The
System.
SFA. Brilliant. Anytime you are told in the exam, and it's quite popular, let me look for a question like that. Let me look out for, was it also still highlight code? You would find it useful. Let me go for a very common exam question. Okay, I will get back. Don't worry. During my break, I'll work out on all those things. So what does the S in the FA mean?
Suitability.
Suitability.
What does the F mean?
Feasibility.
Feasibility. So be careful if you are told to evaluate something. And then what's the A?
Acceptability.
All right. So guys, let's now break it down in terms of application. Somebody might be wondering, how do I apply this model? So what is suitability? What do we mean when you say suitability? The choice that is before the organization, the choice the organization has made, if it's an evaluation of a strategic choice or if it's an evaluation of a strategy, the strategy that the organization wants to make, does it suit the overall strategy of the organization? So suitability of the choice of the strategy to the overall organization strategy. So does it suit the overall strategy of the organization? Who can tell me another thing that this suitability addresses again?
I think the interest of the stakeholders.
Does it also, no, does it suit the culture as well? Is it suitable for the long-term growth of the business, the long-term direction? Does it suit the current culture? You might be making, so a good example of a strategic choice might be a decision to invest or to acquire or to go into a merger. Does this suit our culture? Will our culture be diluted? So you must evaluate that strategic choice and ask whether it suits the culture of the organization. It suits the overall strategy of the organization. Let's go to feasibility. What are we looking out for in feasibility here?
I think we're looking at the resources.
Yes. Do we have the resources? So this really, for something to be feasible, you are really speaking on the capacity and the capabilities. So speaking on capabilities and capacity, at the heart of it is resources. Do we have the resources to be able to implement this strategic choice? Apart from resources, who can tell me another thing again that we'll be considering?
Competence.
Do we have the competence? Do we have the experience? Have we done this before? A particular country, have we done it before? Have we failed? Can we learn lessons from what we've done? Experience or past experience. Then the last one is on acceptability. What are things we are looking at for the acceptability?
Looking at the stakeholders.
Brilliant. Stakeholders acceptance. There's a question about acceptability that involved an SAF, and the labor unions were going to down tools. They were going to suspend their members, who obviously included the workforce of the organization. They didn't. A pointer was there that some of the members of labor unions were dissatisfied. The organization didn't pay attention to it, and it became a failed project. So you must look at stakeholder acceptance. And stakeholder acceptance is quite broad because we can break it down into different types of stakeholders. So that will lead me to another point. What again can we look at for under acceptability?
Risk and returns.
Brilliant. The risk versus returns. So that really speaks to the financial acceptance of that project. So what is the benefits versus the risk? So you can look at it as a cost-benefit analysis. So guys, this I've done here won't give you the marks, but your identification of if the strategy suits the culture, yes, and you can state it. If they've got the resources, the technical know-how, the competence, the capabilities, the experience, of running this. If the stakeholders, their views that the stakeholders are happy about this, if the returns, especially from a financial perspective, you might even need to do a calculation here and just look at the cost benefits and say, okay, maybe this is fine. It is a common examiner's favorite that you see a lot. All right, guys, we are done with strategy. I want us to take a break and we'll be back by 2 p.m. Is that fine?
Yes, Jojo.
Yes,
Simon was raising his hand.
All right, 2 p.m. is Nigerian time. So for the guys international, that is 1 p.m. GMT. Okay. So, Simon, your hand is up. Let's see. Go on.
Okay. I wanted to say something on acceptability. Can we also look at the ethical part being part of acceptability?
Yeah. Stakeholder acceptability. Yeah, you're correct.
Thank
Okay,
you.
guys, let's take a break. We are back by 2 p.m. Nigerian time, 1 p.m. GMT. See you guys.